Hey, I wanted to do a video. I just got back from the Boundary Waters on all the stuff I brought because I think I'm dialed in now. This has been my third trip, second solo trip. I've done a tandem trip. And you learn a ton after your first trip, but you keep learning, you know? So I'm sure I'll even make it more efficient, but I constantly think about this stuff and put a lot of thought into it. So I was pretty dialed in. Prospector 14 Swift, which is a good canoe, not super efficient. I would love to paddle a different canoe. I have a couple that on my radar, a 16.8 Cruiser Swift or a North Star Magic. But anyway, this did really well, and I was actually windbound for a few hours yesterday and had to paddle some white-capped waves that I've never been in the wind on a big lake. It was pretty sketchy, but this canoe handled it well. I was impressed, and I really like the double seat position on this. It's got a higher position you can put it in and a lower position, and on big lakes the lower position made a big difference. I usually paddle in the upper seating position, which is more comfortable because you're higher up in your legs. It's just more comfortable, but it feels tippier. And I had my 23-pound dog with me the entire time, and on the bigger lakes I kept it in the lower position, and it was just felt rock solid. And I do whitewater canoeing and stuff, so I know the feeling of having a tippy canoe. I've paddled tandem canoes, whitewater canoes, older whitewater canoes, newer whitewater canoes, tripping canoes. I've never been in an efficient tripping solo canoe, but anyway, I have experience. So the lower position felt rock solid in this boat and took on waves that were, I don't know, a foot and a half, maybe, not quite 2 foot. And it rolled over them. No waves crashed over the boat, so I was impressed. But I want to go over my gear and how I packed it and stuff to just help somebody else pack on a solo trip and not have to go through a bunch of stuff that I did. So if you're a fisherman, I brought my fishing pole. So if you're not a fisherman, you just cut a bunch of stuff, you know, not a bunch, but some. So my fishing tackle box, and I don't fish, I'm not a huge fisherman. I fish and try to catch dinner. I don't sit and fish a lot. I'm more of a person who likes to cover some distance, not like crazy marathon stuff, but I'll paddle for 4 or 5 hours a day. I'm not like a base camper and then I'll go out fishing all day. I prefer to travel than to sit at camp, especially by myself when you can't experience it with somebody. It was nice having my dog with. My other trip without a dog, I just kind of sit there with my thoughts. And I would rather not. I have a small tackle box like this, two-sided with various lures. You know, pick what you want. Then I have this nice map case where it fits in, and I have all the maps that I needed, which on this trip I needed 3 maps, unfortunately. So a lot of trips you only need 1. It depends on where you're covering, right? So it was nice to have this. I really like this. It kept that stuff dry. I put it next to me where I can get at it. This is a tip so that you can check your map often, which you do need to in the Boundary Waters because you make wrong turns. You can't look at your map or your GPS or anything when you're in wind. So if you're going to bigger water, it changes things. You know, if you're going to go to bigger lakes, then you need to be prepared where you're going beforehand, because when you're in the waves, you can't check this stuff. You know what I mean? You're just paddling. You're making sure you're safe. You got to get around a point or something. It could be way away, where then you check your map and you're like, ah, shit, I was supposed to go over here or whatever. So I even have a GPS Garmin that has maps in it where I can see where I am, like a bird's eye view of the Boundary Waters. And that comes in handy. You could have that on the entire time and check it real quick. You could do that, but then it eats batteries pretty quickly. So if you have a way to charge batteries, that's fine. But anyway, this you want close at hand. And I keep my tackle box right there so I can change lures when I'm fishing. Life jacket, I really like this life jacket. It's an Astral, I don't know the name. This is what it looks like. It's very minimalistic and it has large openings. This is another tip. So when you're paddling with a t-shirt on, if it's tighter here, you'll rub every paddle stroke on this with your arm, with your bicep, and it'll start wearing and you'll have like a hot spots, you know what I mean? This thing has been awesome. I have another Astral PFD that is not like this, and that's why I bought this, because I was having problems hitting the chest part with my underarm with a t-shirt. If you have long sleeve shirt, doesn't matter. So I really like this, but it doesn't have hardly any pockets. It has two little teeny things, and all I do is keep, another tip, little gloves here, fingerless paddling gloves, because if you're paddling for 5 hours, multiple days, you'll start getting hot spots on fingers too, depending on your paddle. Another tip. So that's my PFD. I have a carbon shaft paddle. I believe it is for whitewater paddling, Aquabound. And their carbon wrap has little lines on it. And after hours of paddling, those little lines start getting hot spots in your fingers. This carbon paddle from Werner Journey was nice and smooth, like a nice, smooth, unvarnished wood paddle, where constantly you're doing the J-stroke. It never made hot spots. Also, Bending Branches carbon is probably the best, smoothest glass, never get hot spots paddle. Also, I have one like that. I think it's called the Sunburst or something. Carbon paddle, wood blade, nice paddle. But little things like that you have to be conscious of. I have a wood paddle from Bending Branches, all wood shaft, that gives me hot spots when I'm doing the J-stroke for hours on end. So something to think about. This paddle is Dick Hard approved. So that's that stuff. Then I got my fishing pole. I have an ugly stick, not the best pole, but you're in the, it's like glass. It's not super graphite. It's got graphite in it though, but good enough and tough. And so it doesn't break. If you have a nice, super nice pole, you know, you don't want to bring it to the boundary waters because it might break. It's more liable to break than in a fishing boat. I have a yoke that gets screwed in for carrying, right? Well, one thing I just found out when I took it out of my truck is this thing popped off because it's got a washer with a rubber insert. And if you lost this, you would not have the ability to screw it in. So you would do these portages without a yoke. You'd have to have the boat empty then, and I'll come to that later because I have some stuff strapped in my boat, and which is possible with the yoke. Without a yoke, it'd be real cumbersome. I'm going to buy an extra one of these is what I getting at. Maybe not the knob, I'll just get a bolt that fits, and just have it in my pack. One bolt that it would fit those threads. So, something to think about. Another pro tip. I'm not a pro. Not a pro. I had my dog with. I have one bowl for him, collapsible, water, food. I keep it under there because you're paddling for hours and you want to get him a drink, you just scoop it up, give it to him, he's good to go. He carries that with his little pack I got him. This thing was cool. I put his food in, I split the weight, tried to get it balanced because it is important. You got to get it. It's like you got to get it damn near perfect. But he's a tough guy, so sometimes it was riding a little to the side or whatever. But anyway, he carries his bowl, his leash bowl is, I throw that in there when he goes off and does his portage, unclip it, drop it off, go get more of my stuff. This pack was cool. It's from Roughwear. That was good. I have a PFD for him too. He liked this. I don't know if he liked it, but he didn't dislike it. He was fine. Kept him warm too in the mornings and stuff. On a hot day, You might have to get them wet. If you're going on a big lake and you want to keep them safe, you might have to get them wet before, you know, and then just cross the lake. On little lakes, if it was hot, I wouldn't have them probably wear it. Definitely on a bigger lake. This is a great pad. It's good for kneeling and stuff when I go on river trips and stuff, but on a portage, I would never take it unless I had a dog. It's a little big. I probably would cut it down if I wanted to sacrifice cutting it down. I could get away with half, but anyway, if I cut it in half, it might be more of a pain in the ass because I slide it underneath that seat and I don't secure it at all, and when I carry my canoe, it just rides in there. If it was smaller, it might slide out easier because you're tipping, you're going up, and it might slide off, and that'd be a pain in the ass. You got to take your thing off, you know what I mean? Because you don't want to go back. Your canoe's your second trip if you're double portaging, so you'd have to put your canoe down, grab it, and put it back on, because your canoe's usually on the second trip because you want to see where you're going on your first trip, not carry your canoe, which is harder. Anyway, this pad worked great though. Keeps them, even if it's wet, it's neoprene, so to keep them warm. He had a nice place to lay down instead of the bottom of the canoe. I have a barrel pack, and I'll go through all this stuff in here, but this worked. I like the barrel pack. It turns into a seat. It's a table. It's easy to load stuff in when you're going to pack. Those other portage packs, you definitely fit, if you get a big one, more stuff in them. But I find if you pack this thing, you don't really want more weight than that, because this is heavy. You know, I don't know what that weighs, 60 pounds, something like that. But it's nice because it's all open. You know, it doesn't collapse. You can get stuff in there. And I put all my soft stuff, well, I'll go over that. Anyway, then on the top, I have my waders and a chair. Now, if I was going to cut weight, I also have a small pad in here. I would not bring this next time. I brought this to kneel on. I wouldn't bring it next time. This chair is awesome. It's a high-backed Helinox chair. I would buy the high-backed one because it's more comfortable and you could take a nap in it. And if I was going to take a chair, I would rather have that, not the smaller one, and save that little bit of weight. But if I was going to do a lot of portaging, I would not bring this chair. And I'll tell you why here. Because it'd be an easy way to cut weight in bulk. That's another pro tip. Bulk is almost as important as weight, how big something is. Because I can only, like if I was just carrying beach balls and they all weighed 3 ounces, I could carry 50 of them, right? If they were blown, you know, popped. But if they're all blown up, I could only carry 5 or whatever. You know what I'm saying? So bulk is super important. But anyway, this is the first thing I would drop weight-wise. I have a chair tied to the thwart. Everything is off the bottom that I want dry, off the bottom of the canoe. Meaning this little pack I have twirled around, this little butt pack, I have that twirled around and it's not touching the bottom because the bottom is going to get wet. So anything you don't want wet, keep off the bottom. That's why when I put my canoe pack in the canoe, I always put it like this so that this doesn't get all wet, right? Because that would suck on a cold day. These are waders. These come in handy. I never wore them this trip because it was warm. So I'm sorry I brought them. But if it's cold out, this is better than bare feet type, you know, I just wore socks with water shoes pretty much. But it was warm water. If it was cold, I would wear these. These can be down, grab them, pull them up when you go to a wet-footed entry and exit. I always do wet-footed because it's safer. Getting out, trying to keep your feet dry, it's just a recipe for disaster. They're probably going to get wet and you might slip and fall. So just know that your feet are going to get wet and go into it thinking that. Just do that. So I have a pack here. It's twirled around. This has, I wear this sometimes when I'm paddling. This is kind of my ditch kit. I had this on another video. It's got a Gerber Leatherman type tool thing. That's for anything but getting fish hooks out mostly and having an extra knife. It has my quick deploying ridge line, a headlamp, a little fire kit, a head netting for bugs. I also have a bandana back here, and I don't have it, but I usually put a garbage bag in here. So that could be like your shelter or whatever. So anyway, I went over that in a video a long time ago. But I have that. Oh, I also have a lighter in here, but that's with the fire kit. Anyhow, that's off of the bottom so it doesn't get water in it. I also put my GPS in here. So that's where that goes. This is the chair that I would bring if I wasn't going to bring that other one. It's really light. It's a Crazy Creek chair, and that's all it is. So it's not the most super comfortable thing to sit at camp, you know, but it works. It gives you a backrest. It'll get you by. A lot of the campsites have logs, so they're up off the ground, and then you could put this on it. But what's awesome about it is it's a chair for your canoe, because there's times, especially when I'm kayak paddling, it worked great. So love this thing, and that would be a quick way to save weight. That's that. Painter lines. I have painters in the front and back because there's some portages you don't have to take. You can line these little teeny creeks and stuff. You don't have to take all your stuff off. People think that you always have to portage. You know, not the case. You don't have to go around everything that they have a trail for. So on this particular trip, a bunch of people were taking the portage, taking all your packs out. I just left the dog in here, grabbed my painter line, walked around, and it's quick deploying. So you take this band, pop it off, and you grab your rope, and you can push your canoe and walk behind it and get around rocks and stuff and go down this little stream. And my dog Rudy just rode along. Also, if you ever fell out of your boat or something happened, you could grab this and swim to shore, and you have a line, right? Front and back. This is a floating rope, and I only have it this length. A lot of people do it the full length of the boat and then halfway back. Everybody's different. 50, people do different things. These little bungees come in handy. And the great thing is you don't have to buy them. You just go to the Boundary Waters your first trip, and you'll probably find them along the trail. I have a couple of these because they don't weigh anything, and it's always nice to have something to attach to thwarts and stuff. I didn't use them a ton, but they weigh nothing. And I know someday I'm going to need one. So I carry a couple of these. And I found both of them in the Boundary Waters. This is the other pack I took. I have my, if you don't film, this would cut a lot of weight. But this is my GoPro. And I also have a Goal Zero battery pack to charge the GoPro, my phone, my GPS. That all fits in here. And it's a good spot to put your phone so nothing happens to it. This thing is rock solid, bulletproof, Pelican case. And my Goal Zero, I cut out the foam. It fits underneath the other foam that holds my foam that holds my GoPro batteries and all that jazz, right? Yeti backpack, waterproof, works great. I use this all the time for a day pack when I go on my river trips and stuff, just for the day. And this thing is pretty bulletproof. I know Yeti's brand name, whatever, but it's the one Yeti thing I've ever really bought. And I like it, and it works. I also have a Lulu, I think it's Lulu, Lucy light. These things work great in camp. And I also have my headlamp, like I talked about, but this is great for just having out for like a lantern. And it's packs to nothing, as you can see, blows up. Great light. We have a bunch of these. And I have a way to, and this is important, don't miss this. Anything you want to do, you need a bailing thing. If you tip over your boat and you're sitting in the water in a lake and you got to get in your boat, you're going to want to bail. You want something to use to get water out, not splashing your hand. So bring a baler, cut a bleach bottle, whatever. This is like a food thing, and it's strong and tough. I like this thing. Works great, nice and flat to get along the bottom of the boat and get all that water out. That's for like animal feed or livestock feed thing. Get them at like Farm and Fleet. I got this great thing. My painter lights are all secured by Red Leaf Designs. These bungee around your rope and go like that, right? And then you just pop it off. Works great. Red Leaf Designs. They also make this paddle pocket. And I've heard people on different Facebook groups be like, what do you need that for? That's stupid. Just put your paddle behind your pack or under your thing. And this thing doesn't cost that much. It weighs nothing, and it does exactly what you're trying to do, and it does it way more efficient than what you're trying to do. I can swap my paddles easily without pulling over, and it stays there when you grab your boat to do your portage, and I can take my other paddle, stick it with this one, and leave it under here, so when I flip it over, and they stayed. And it's really important to be efficient, in my mind, than to screwing around and shit falling off of your canoe. Everything's nice. You get to the portage, you unpack, everything's efficient, you grab your canoe, everything stays where it's supposed to. You don't have to do a lot of dicking around, getting other people's way if it's busy, you know what I mean? You got stuff, you want everything nice, compact, minimalistic amount of packs and things to do, right? I had a dog, so I had a little extra stuff, but otherwise I had 2 packs. And everything was connected to those 2 packs, you know? Or I could easily grab something, like that map case, I just throw it over the top of my big canoe pack and go. I don't even have to really secure it. I just throw that tether around it and go. Fast, efficient. Anyway, like this thing. Pop this off. Boom. I have 2 Velcro things. Those can now be Velcroed around here. And I have my kayak paddle. If you're a solo canoeer and you're going on bigger lakes, do yourself a favor and grab a kayak paddle, because you can do things that you wouldn't be able to with a single blade. You just wouldn't be able to do a windy crossing on sometimes with a single blade, and this you can manage it. And I paddled yesterday for like 3 hours in these winds, and it was pain in the ass. You could not stop paddling, otherwise you'd turn and get tipped over if you came broadside. And so I always bring a kayak paddle. They're expensive if you get a carbon fiber one, because they're just very light. That's why I like the carbon fiber paddles. Obviously you want to cut on weight, right? This is a Wilderness Pongo, something like that. Work great, and it breaks down fast, and it's tiltable, and you can adjust it in and out. So, and it fit in there nice. That paddle pocket works great. And you can have it for multiple boats. It just unvelcros. So you put those Velcro strips, you'll have more of them on your other boats, and you just Velcro it in. And the paddle fits right in there. That's Red Leaf Designs. All right, so that's everything with the boat and how I packed it.